Alrighty, so here we are. Welcome everybody. We're at Laguna Seca. I suppose that's how you say it. We've got a special guest with us tonight, going by the name of Jamie. You guys won't know who that is, but if I associate that name with his PlayStation racing name as A River Runs. So welcome, Jamie.
Thanks, Ad. It's great to be here and happy to be bringing the action to everyone watching tonight or on delay.
Beautiful. Yeah, so we've got a bit of a small grid tonight. But just looking, as you just mentioned before, with the practice racing there, that the times were actually quite close. So that could be interesting for the qualifying.
They were within a few tenths of a second, so hopefully even if the grid is small but the action is close and we see some good racing.
Yeah. So for the viewers out there, as I said, Laguna Seca. This is a Race on Oz round 8 race for the AM1 guys. This track consists of 11 corners, so it's 3.6 kilometres long. With an elevation change of 180 feet, so I think that's in metres, about 55 metres. I wasn't great at mathematics, but hopefully I'm on the money with that. So and with in the 11 turns as well, it's highlighted by the circuit's signature turn, which is the downhill plunging corkscrew, and what we're looking at right now with the GRT boys. So just sitting on Psycho at the moment, Jamie, just following him around as he's sort of like the first guy out on the track.
He's out there he'll be setting the first time over the line, I believe, which will, he'll be looking to slowly build up confidence because, as you say, the corkscrew in particular can really catch you out if you're not precise.
Yeah.
So taking it nice and easy the first time over will be beneficial, and then you can slowly build the speed up over the coming qualifying laps.
Yeah. So it's funny you use the wording "taking it easy." Who does that on the corkscrew?
Yeah, it is a wild ride down there, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely that and a bit more. Oh, so it's just getting tangled up there a little bit with Fubble by the looks of it. So I noticed last week in the pro round, a couple of the guys where they come out of the pits, come around that third corner there, they'd pull into the inside and let us through. So in terms of roadcraft and sportsmanship, it was very, very high.
It was good. It is difficult for cars not on a racing lap, either in qualifying or on the race, because the straights are so short and the corners just come really, really fast. And when you've got quick guys coming up behind you, you really need to think and pay attention to your mirrors and your indicators to make sure that you're away from the guys who are setting the lap.
Yeah. Hey, so with Psycho's just about to come onto the main straight, I'm just thinking, how do you feel? Oh, hang on, he's just gotten out in the dirt, so we won't go with him. We might just jump on board with someone else. Let's have a look. Where's 389? He's coming on. So big Les. Do you want to take us for a lap around Laguna Seca?
Alright, so we've got Big Les. He's coming up over the start-finish line now. He's coming through turn 1, which is obviously flat, but it's blind coming over the crest, and he's looking for his braking marker on the right-hand side. There's a double apex corner. He wants one nice smooth motion there with the steering input, and he's done that quite nicely. On the power pretty early. Now this is where things start to get tricky. He'll be looking to avoid the sausage curve on the inside there, which he's done. It's the same situation here for this right-hander turn 4. You don't want to get on the power too early and go out in the sand, but you also want to get them early enough to keep the momentum down this short straight. Turn 5 here, it's a late apex, so you can get on the power nice and early. It's a tough corner, this one, under the bridge with blind, and you've got to take so much speed through there, and you want some understeer to avoid the inside sausage curve, but not too much that you go out wide. And here we are at the corkscrew, braking nice in a straight line, pointing towards the apex. Maybe gone a little bit over there and had to overcorrect.
He hasn't dropped any time though. Oh, a little bit there maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's coming through second last corner. Dab of the brakes, take some speed there. He'll probably build up more speed through there in his next laps, and this last corner is really all about hitting that apex nice and tightly and getting the car as straight as possible so you can carry traction through over the start finish line, and he will set a mid 1:25, so I expect to see some times come down into the 24s and maybe even 23s.
Yeah, so I think with you, mate, he's probably still warming his tyres up. This would be the next lap, or the one after that'd be his hot lap. But thank you so much for your run around one lap of Laguna Seca. It was coming from somebody that's ranking quite high in the Pro Series there. Certainly, you know, it's excellent to get that sort of a feedback and a little bit of a guide. Oh, and he's just lost it. Big Les Gaming.
So that corner can really catch you out on the exit. There's two key things about this track. It's avoiding the sausage curbs and it's avoiding the sand. And there's a couple of places where you can kind of get away with it.
Yep.
That corner, unfortunately, you can't.
Yeah, it's definitely one of these. It's a technical track, this one, and there's not a lot of time to, you know, take in the sights as you're going down any sort of straight. You've got to be on the mark the whole way round. And I noticed that last week as well. Just by the end of it, like, for me personally, myself, I'm not an unfit person, but geez, I felt like I'd done an hour in the gym, I reckon.
Absolutely, and we had the similar situation at Alton Park as well, where it's just relentless with the corners, and you know, obviously ACC is great at simulating with the laser scan track, so you can feel every bump through your wheelbase, whether it's a G29 or a Fanatec. It really, you know, captures the immersion in that sense. But after 1 hour, it's yeah, you feel like you've done a workout.
Yeah, I was looking at investing in purchasing a cool suit at some stage, I think, especially with spring and summertime coming up.
Some of the guys have some fans as well going in their little rooms, because I'm sure all the gear and with the console gets really hot as Fubble Trouble's just come loose at the corkscrew there.
Oh, has he? He's got a low 24, so he'd probably be disappointed with that he's going to have to reset now. I know once the tyre pressures, after a little bit of a skid, they go up quite quickly, so can take a few corners or even a lap for him to re-stabilise.
Looks like Minardi has just hit the 123s, so 123.9 for him. He's currently on top.
Yep, in the AMG. So doing it nicely there for ICR. So just a big shout out to the sponsors too, while we're just got a little bit of time. So yeah, so ICR, Ignition Controls Racing. I was lucky enough to win a Ignition Controls button box a couple of years ago, which now just sits beside the wheel because it looks good. Functionality wise for ACC, it does nothing, unfortunately, but great piece of kit. Loved using it in Project Cars 2. Selby Acoustic Racing, Fubble Trouble. We've got Gameson Racing and Pagnian Next Level as well.
Looks like we have representation from all the teams tonight, which is great.
Yeah,
obviously a smaller grid, but looks like Hammer's joined as well, which is great. So.
Yeah, and Team Little Bear. So Hammer's just coming around for a quick lap. I'd say that was his out lap. Well, there's 9, so there's, you know, the odds of getting up into a podium are certainly much better with smaller numbers. So there's a positive. Yep,
some points for their team as well. So
absolutely,
it's a lot to race for tonight. And obviously, with Stu has been retained in Pro-Am. for this round, so it gives some of the guys, as they had last time out in Monza, you know, a chance for a win or some podium.
Yeah, and it's interesting, you know, like you talk about Stu, so, you know, he transitioned over to ACC just not that long ago, or pretty much probably at the start of this season, to be honest, but it's the difficulty of trying to not master the game so much, but just to get an understanding and a feeling of how it works. It takes a long time. It's certainly not something that you could just come and arrive. Well, some people can, but for the most of us, you can't just jump in these cars and start to drive and be competitive at a high level.
That's right, and you know, you get out of it what you put in, because you know you need to practice if you want to improve, and you know it's a simulation for that reason. You know, you need to build your skills, you need to understand, you know, the tracks and, you know, your driving style and what you preference to help inform setup. So it's very involved, and you know, the guys who are really quick put a lot of time in, but you know, if you're careful with your practice and what you prioritize and what you want to get out of it, then you know you can build up speed too.
Yeah. So Jamie, we're just on board with Team Little Bear, and I'm just noticing that down the right side of his car, he's got a fair bit of paint scraped off the side of it. So just for the guys that, you know, may not be familiar with it 100%, but little bits of damage to the vehicle, like what does that actually do, and how does that impact performance?
It can have a number of different impacts. So with these cars, you can get away with a little bit of damage and perhaps still retain most of your speed. You know, if I'm thinking in a race situation.
He's just gone off as well. I've put the mocker on him.
Looks like he's taken out one of the distance markers as well, so
yes.
I'm sure the other guys won't be too pleased with that. But effectively, getting that damage, you know, you lose things like aero, you lose some mechanical grip depending on what type of damage you've gotten. You can end up with situations where you're trying to go into fast speed corners and you just have no bite into the corner, and so you just understeer right off, and the only real solution for it is to come in and get that damage fixed, which is, you know, not a great outcome because you lose so much time in the pits doing it.
Yep.
But there is a level that you can get away with to, I guess, push on, but yeah, you really want to be avoiding clashing with other cars, and most importantly, clashing with the wall, something you don't want to do.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I've had a few visits and encounters with walls, so you definitely know when you've hit it hard, because the car's just about impossible to drive. But
so we see Minardi's further improved his time, so he's now 1:23.6, which is a good time, and he's about half a second up on Fubble, who has just gone off it again.
Yeah, I was just on him then.
So he's obviously pushing. He's trying to extract those extra tenths to reach Minardi's time. Let's see what Shamrock can do. He's just coming up to the end of the lap now. Although
he's pulling in.
Just pulled out.
Yeah. So 1:23.6 for Minardi. That's pretty good. Now this is a track that you need to be 100% committed to the corners, and especially like you said, that corner that he's just come through there is a blind corner, and you've got to have that commitment. Like, you've got to trust your turn-in, because you're expecting that sausage curve on the inside, that the car's going to understeer through that corner, which is going to make you drift out slightly, but then still grip up on the exit.
It's so important to have the confidence in the car there, because if you don't, you'll obviously take the brake a lot earlier and for a lot longer.
Yep.
And running up the hill without that momentum and speed will just take so much time off your potential lap, and ultimately that corner and the corkscrew, you know, are the key corners for the confidence in the car and getting the most out for a lap time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I mentioned it the other night in our Porsche Cup race that going around that fast left-hander, it's now a habit that I don't want, but my left leg kept coming outside of the cockpit like I'm trying to, like they do with the MotoGP pikes where they've got their leg hanging out the side. I don't know why it started happening, but it's crazy. But look, Minardi looks like he's probably going to get this.
He's taken another 10th off as well as the clock ticks over, so
yep.
We'll be seeing the end of the laps now. Looks like there's only 3 cars out there. Just Fubble who's just crossed the line, so he won't improve.
So I'm just on board with Minardi now. He's pretty close to his quickest time for improves. Actually, this could, if there is an improvement, it'll be the slightest. So, one of the things I love about Minardi, and I've actually used his colours now, is the helmet colour. When you look at it through the windscreen, just looks awesome. So there you go, Minardi, position 1. Fubble in position 2, Shamrock 3, enter for BLG, Big Leads Gaming in number 5, Andy in position 6, and Psycho position 7, Team Little Bear and Hammer 8 and 9. So good for those guys to come through.
So Minardi's obviously set a cracking time there, and Fubble's tried to match him, but it's reasonably close after that. Shamrock, Inter, and Big Les,
yep.
Andy, all within about half a second of each other. So all different cars as well, or three different cars in that little group: Bentley, Ferrari, and the Beamer. So should be a good little battle between those guys.
Yeah, I hope so, and I think that. That just given that, like you say, the closeness of it all, there's definitely an opportunity for some close racing, which will be really good to watch. And I've just had Vic Chan's on board with us watching, and apologies for his late entry. Had something more important to do first, and that was to eat some food. So, g'day, Vic. I don't know if you recognise the voice that's with me, but we've got a River Runs, Jamie, who's having his first turn at commentating tonight, and so far, from what I've heard, doing a very good job. So,
thanks, mate. There's nothing like a Vic priorities with eating, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So while we are waiting for these guys just to tick over to the race start, we've got this coming Thursday night is the Porsche Cup, which starts at 7 o'clock. So that's at Spa. So practice starts at 7 o'clock for 30 minutes. So there's going to be a change in format with the way the race is run, and this hasn't been put through through Discord yet, but I can confirm because of the length of the track. Essentially what we're going to be doing is running a 15-minute qualifying session after a 30-minute practice. Race 1 will consist of a 15-minute sprint, and race 2 will be a 30-minute sprint reverse grid. So no pit stop required, but we will be required to drive through the pits. So for you guys out there, if you haven't seen the Porsche Cup Series yet, there's only 3 rounds. This is the last round. And from all accounts, as a driver in that series myself, I can tell you that it's a lot of fun. It's awesome to watch, so definitely jump on board. JJ and Nige do the commentating for the Porsche Cup series, which, last round at Nürburgring, just fantastic. The amount of views that's already had, without even really promoting, it's been really good. But I can tell you that through that series, and we spoke about this after the race last week, but there was a lot of talk about, how great it is that the guys can get together and have a laugh and have a chat and just enjoy each other's company, even if it's through, this sort of situation. It's really good to jump on board with. So, yeah, it's Porsche Cup this Thursday night. It's the last race at Spa, so definitely jump on and have a look.
It's great fun, and you know, whether you're racing or whether you're tuning in, you know, it's just a little bit relaxed. Everyone, you know, is just respectful but enjoying the racing as well.
Oh, sorry, Jamie Minardi's in the pits.
Oh no.
He must have forgotten to push the... well, he'll have to start from the pits, unfortunately. So that's going to be... That's a game changer right there.
Yep, absolutely. He'll be gutted.
He sure will. Alrighty. So the guys at the front right now, so we've got Fubble, Trouble and Shamrock will be rubbing their hands together, thinking, how good is this? We're going to have a clear track ahead of us, provided everything goes to plan.
Two Selby Acoustics racing drivers as well, so
yep.
I get to lead them across for the first lap, provided they don't make a meal of the start, of course.
So what's going through the drivers' heads right now, do you reckon?
I think it depends on where you are on the grid. If you're further up, you know, you're looking at ensuring that you pick an optimum line into turn one, position your car nicely, fully aware that, you know, you're going to have the field coming down behind you, so, you know, you want to get that braking point late enough and take you through the first turn. If you're in the middle, you might be looking at, you know, who you're racing against, who's next to you, and who might, you know, be a little bit more aggressive coming at you, who might be a little bit more reserved, and that you might be able to take a bit of advantage of. So there's a bit to think about, and obviously we've got the manual start as well, so the leader will control the pace, and that will start from 70 k's an hour at about now.
So Minardi's got the checkered flag up. What does that mean? Is that him disconnected, or?
I can still see him. It looks like he's got the number 2 pit stops next to him, so...
Okay. Well, hopefully you can get out. So here we go. We've got a couple of the guys still creeping up from the back. I'm not sure that they actually are aware of the race start, so... So this is interesting. We've got 2 Selby Acoustic Racing cars at the front with 3 GRT cars coming in behind.
Looks like Shamrock's got the jump as well on Fubble.
TB Williams has just turned up in the pits, so he's a very late comer. Hopefully he can get out on track. G'day TB, Team BHR. Yeah, I don't know if Minardi's a result of a disconnection or something, but I guess we'll see.
He's still sat in the pits as well, so there could be something on there. Oh, Andy's just had a moment, I think, coming out of turn 6. He's got a bit of pressure from Little Bear, and the Gameson Racing guys are battling through the corkscrew.
I think that I've got a feeling half of these guys will be thinking, you know, what's going to happen? Is there going to be a restart? And there's probably got some chat going on, but so Benito coming in for his first pit stop, so he's going to try and break that pressure that he was getting from his teammates. And I dare say that would be a good move, to be honest.
So that means Big Les is ahead of Psycho by about a second in that GRT train. Hammer's starting to put pressure on Psycho with Andy in close proximity.
Yeah, this looks like it's definitely going to bunch up. Now, how good does that BMW look?
It's a great looking car. It's a great sounding car. Unfortunately, it just doesn't have the pace as some of the other cars, but as we know from lived experience. But full credit to Les, who's really embraced it this season. Got it looking good. Like we said, it sounds amazing. and it's good to have at least one on the grid, I think.
Yeah, I know when we drove that in the first season, it probably good for a couple of laps, and that was about it. But good car to learn in anyway. So.
And with the news this past week of the future of ACC on consoles and the new DLC, it looks like we'll see the new BMW M4 GT3.
Yep. Yes, I've seen that. That looks like a pretty sexy looking car, to be honest.
We'll definitely have to try that out once it hits our consoles. Obviously, the steering wheel for that was developed in partnership, or it's developed by Fanatec.
Yep.
So it's that interchangeable wheel that can be used on a rig, but also in the actual car. It looks like we got some.
Oh, I don't know what's happened there. I think is that TB in the Ferrari. It looks like he's come out of the pits and. Well, you know what's happened. He's come out of the pits and he's gotten tangled up with the leading group of cars, which has allowed Big Les in the big BMW to catch up. So right now he's on the back of Fubble Trouble, licking his chops, thinking, how good is this? So he's even just turned the lights on. Now, I don't know what that means, but that's confidence right there.
I think TV's just gone off as well and is looping it around a couple of times just after turn 6. So
yep.
TV might not have put a lot of laps in before tackling this beast of a circuit.
Oh, it's so close at the front with these guys. So you got, yeah, big Les. I might just jump on board with Les for a second. He's all over the back of Fubble. I'm just going to jump in his cockpit.
The leaders were 129s on that lap, whereas Big Les, Psycho and Andy were in the 125s and 6s. So
yep.
There was definitely some issues for the front running too there, which has created this close pack now at the front.
And I know from last week the track actually drops off in temperature, so that actually caught me out after the restart. I forgot to go and reset my tyre pressures for that. So after the first couple of laps, operating temperature was at 27.1 in the rear and 27.2 I think it was. So it made it really difficult for the rest of the race, unfortunately.
Yeah, tyre pressure's so key to get right, and if they're just outside of the window, no setup will really help you there.
He's just held it there, coming out of the corkscrew, and Psycho's gone past. Yeah. Now you can see that the Selby-Cusi boys have just pulled out a little bit of a gap, and he's going to go in the pits and do his first pit stop.
So we'll see where he comes out in relation to Inter, who pitted after the first lap.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know what's happened there with Minardi. That's really disappointing for him.
He's made it out by the looks of it.
Yeah, it looks like Big Les has got a fair bit on Inter. Inter's just coming down into the 11th corner now. Come onto the main straight. Here comes TB down the outside of Big Les. So TB's not a factor in. Let's just see what happens here in terms of. Hopefully he doesn't hold him up. Yeah, 100% Vic. Definitely gutted for Minardi, mate. I mean, when you're pulling that much of a time in pole position and, you know, you're good half a second up. So I'm just, so TB's just pulled off to the side there for Big Les.
It's coming up to turn 6 now.
So we've got Fubble Trouble in first position, so he's just coming into the first hairpin, so this is corner 2. As Jamie said earlier in the lap around with Jamie, with the double apex corner, so you've got to have a nice flow so you can have a good exit and then flow into these couple of left-handers here for the approach up through turn 6. And then onto Rahal Straight. And even with the corkscrew too, Jamie, I know that, you know, the exit out of that is crucial coming into Rainey's curve. I mean, you can come in shallow on that particular corner, as we're just watching Fubble now come through the corkscrew, and he's going to just come around through Rainey's curve.
Yeah, so you can see he's taken it quite wide out there, and obviously hasn't quite hooked it into the apex.
Yep.
You can take it nice and tight, which for me last week was definitely preferable into Ferrari. I was able to get on the power nice and early, but definitely in some cars and for some driving styles, coming out wide on the entry to that corner will be the better way to do it.
Yeah, totally agree. I can just, something that I haven't mentioned yet, but so with the two front runners here with Fubble and Shamrock for Selby Acoustic Racing, but see who's lurking in the background there. And
so
Andy's
doing, he's doing a great job, just 1.5 seconds off.
He's he had a good race at the last round actually.
He really is good at keeping it nice and consistent. You know, he tries to keep it out of trouble, off the walls, doesn't engage in, you know, too fierce wheel-to-wheel racing. You know, if he needs to make a pass, he'll try and calculate it and do it nice and cleanly. Make some smart strategy calls to pit at the right time, and he gets rewarded with his results as well. Yeah,
and you can see that his lines are clean. And I guess that's what it comes down to as well, isn't it? Just that being consistent, nice and tidy.
I know he likes the Bentley. Sorry, finds it a comfortable car to drive for him. So,
yep.
You know, it's finding the right car for you is obviously very important, because it makes you feel comfortable and confident that you can get the most out of it, and he's certainly got that with the Bentley.
Yeah, and the Bentley's, and like the Ferrari, has been the people's choice vehicles to drive for this season with Race on Oz. I know when I transitioned from the AMG, I didn't want to take the same approach as most with a car that was popular, and went for the Porsche. So I can tell you that it has its ups and downs, and certainly it has its rewards, and then definitely the not so much in the way of rewards, which can be disheartening at times. But man, I tell you, when Andy's just slightly gone wide, probably backed off a little bit, which will make him drop down. But yeah, when you get it right and the car hooks up, God, it's just unbelievable. The feeling and the adrenaline rush that you get is just out of this world. You just can't describe it.
We obviously saw great praise from yourself and Slambo here last week, as well as at Alton Park. And you know, as we were saying off air before, you know how enjoyable that is and how motivating it is to know that you can, you know, get into the competitive spaces up the front, and you know, keeps you going. But unfortunately, the Porsche has been BOP'd out a little too far, I think, at the moment, and we're all hanging for the update that'll come through and give it a little bit of a boost, which it looks like it has on the PC version.
Yeah. So I've just picked up on Manardi here too, Jamie. So he hasn't done his second pit stop where Inter has. Done his first pit stop, and he's all over the back of him. So he's fighting to make up positions here.
Well, his qualifying post suggested he was probably going to be the quickest guy out there, so, you know...
Yep, and he's just taken him, yeah.
Inters may have, you know, kind of seen that he's not fighting Minardi at the moment and has let him go. But yeah, Minardi was definitely, you know, he set the pace of qualifying, and it'll be interesting to see how much impression he can make on the field now he's playing catch up.
And it's probably a really smart move by Inter to do that. So, you know, there's no point fighting somebody that's probably a little bit quicker, and knowing quite well that they're behind. So, but the action's at the front at the moment. So we're 13 minutes down from the race start. We've got Fubble Trouble and Shamrock basically glued to each other.
As they have been for most of this race. They've swapped positions a couple of times, so Shamrock was leading earlier, but Fubble has come back and is currently leading the race. And Andy still 3 seconds behind, hanging in there, but
yep.
The SAR guys, it looks like they're pulling a few tenths out a lap at the moment.
Yeah, so team captain K-Man, you can imagine right now would be comfortable with what his drivers are doing, and I have no doubts that, you know, both of these guys will be looking to take the race win, but at the same time they're going to work together through the race, be smart, not interfere with each other hopefully, and just set the pace and go around and see what happens at the end. And I'm not sure what the team orders are, but I guess it's, you know, as long as you don't take each other out and you do make a pass, it's done cleanly, and may the best man win, I guess.
Yeah, I think, you know, the team's championship is really the whole thing that our championship's based on, and so, you know, I know definitely for our team at BHR, we're conscious of, you know, supporting each other in the race and, you know, not battling each other to the death, you know, when we could be picking up some solid points for the team, and, you know, whether we win or one of our teammates wins, it's celebrated just as much.
Yeah, no, you're right. Team Little Bear's just gone around. He's had a fair bit of traffic come through on him, and you know, the best thing with Team Little Bear is he has a crack. Actually, yeah, it was Team Little Bear. So he's had Big Les, Inter, and Hammer come through on him. So, yeah, he loves his racing. You can hear it in his through the party chats, and he's, you know, constantly having a laugh, and super important. But right now we've got a bunch of cars. So just jumped on with Hammer. He's got Big Les with the lights blazing, and he's coming down on the inside of him. Now this is a gutsy move because he's going to have to make this stick now. He's done it. He's going to hit that second apex just nicely, and that's a brilliant move. But what it's doing is, as well, it's letting Minardi come up into play, and even though he's not a factor in terms of position, but certainly from putting pressure on other drivers, he's certainly going to have that impact. So
good move from Les.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be proud of that move. That's sticking it in there, and he's done it the right way as well. And he's kept a pretty tight line through there too, so you can see that he's obviously cars are set up nice. I actually did a little bit of research with and after we've just said that, he's gone. Sorry, BGL, BLG, Big Les Gaming. Sorry, mate. It happens all the time.
So that's allowed Hammer and Inter rules to come through.
Yep. So we've got Psycho here. And it looks like it might be Andy that's up behind him. I'm not sure.
So Psycho he's done a pit stop.
Yep.
And Andy's
and he's nearly gone around too, yep.
Andy's still about 4, so
actually Psycho's got a bit of damage.
Plus a lap. Yeah, it looks like he's a lap down.
Yep. So we've just had one of the SAR cars come into the pit, so it's Fubble Trouble. That's interesting. I reckon that Fubble's had a little bit of trouble there because Shamrock has pulled a bit of a gap on him, and I reckon that's why he's opted to come into the pits.
So I wonder if he's had an off and picked up some damage, or if he's just decided to reset the brain and get some clean air and get back out there.
Yeah, quite possible. Minardi's gone through on Hammer, so Minardi's still on a mission to try and pull some positions back if he can. I guess what he's relying on is for other guys to make mistakes, and Hammer's just gone wide there as well. So we've got Ida in behind him. Big Les Gaming is hot on him again, so and Inter's just, yeah, so Inter's just letting him through. I'd say that's probably with the damage that he's got.
So Hammer's done well. He joined the server really late and has now moved up to 4th.
Yep. Oh, Minardi's gone around. Here we go. Oh, that was so close. Did you see that?
Well. Yeah, they've done well to avoid him there.
I think Big Les was about to pull out and he's just spotted.
And he's taken himself to the pits, Minardi.
Yep. Yeah, he's probably pushing a bit hard, I think, and probably cooked his tyres.
Yeah. So 20 minutes in, and Shamrock in the lead, 8 seconds from Andy, and Fubble is pitted and retained 3rd.
Track temperatures down to 28. Oh, I can't remember what it got down to last week. Was it about 26, 24 or something like that?
About that, yeah.
Yep.
So it'd be interesting to see how as Andy's hit the sausage on the inside of turn 6, and so did Psycho, who is
he's gone around.
They've gone around,
both of them,
in sympathy of each other. They've straightened up and they'll continue on. So you could see how tricky that turn is. You know that there's so much time to gain there, and you just need to throw the car in, but hoping to understeer away from the apex, and then not too much to understeer off the track on the outside. And it's really precise driving you need through there.
Yeah, and we've just had Les has just come through on the inside of Hammer, so he's moved up into 4th position. So we've got Les, Hammer and Inter all fighting for position.
So Les obviously had that spin at corkscrew, but is otherwise driving really well.
Yeah, it's good that TB's gotten out there. I know his situation is, with work commitments and family, and finds it difficult to get on sometimes and practice. But I can tell you that even in the world of project cars too, TB's up in Div 1 and a very, very good driver. So I have no doubts that given the opportunity to get his hands on this game and these cars and understanding what's going on, he would certainly be a factor in the higher leagues. So
absolutely, but great that he's joined in anyway, even if he can't put too many hours in. He obviously loves driving, and as you say, is quite prominent with the Project Cars 2 League and Division 1, and I think picks up quite a number of wins there as well, so his pace isn't in question, but he gets involved in ACC even if he can't put as much time into it.
Yeah, no, he sure does. Just while we were saying that, Les has gone around again, so he's back on track now, but I feel for him, and I think I say it every time there's a race with him in the BMW now. My heart goes out to him because I know exactly what it is that he's going through. That car is just it's a beast of a thing to handle on track, and Good on him for doing it, but I think he's actually driving this car because he's driving it in the Go to Woe series that he runs in on the Wednesday nights. So he just wanted to try and have some consistency there as well.
Quite a number of these guys are in the Go to Woe league as well, so yeah, they carry over their car choices and make it a bit easier for them to switch between the two championships.
Yep. Yeah, agreed. Les has just come into the pits. We've got just jumped on board with Shamrock, so Shamrock's coming up on some lap traffic, so I have no doubt some blue flags will be coming out.
And he'll be hoping that he gets through there with a minimum of fuss, but obviously, as we were talking about earlier, yeah, there's not a lot of opportunities for the back markers to safely get out of the way. You're always coming up against the next corner, and you're trying not to go off the track yourself, so they have to be, you know, really with an eye on the proximity, the indicator of when the cars are coming up close to them and the track map, and move out of the way safely.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, it's always, I find, even for myself, like, you know, when you know you've got someone coming up behind you, when is the right time to pull the trigger as to let that driver go through, you know, without actually affecting your own race and, you know, potential position within the race, because it does happen when you start having drivers coming through and you don't want to muck up their race, but at the same time, you know, you want to have it, and then, yeah, Psycho's just gone around in front of Shamrock, so it's a hard one, isn't it? I don't know if you've experienced that though, Jamie, because we know where you normally are, mate. You're up the front, so it's, I couldn't imagine that there's blue flags between you and Vic and JJ and the like.
Yeah, that's where strategy can come into play as well, and that's why you see me and Vic sometimes and some of the others run as long as possible up the front.
Yep.
Because if you do come up against traffic, it will be a blue flag traffic, so you know they're obliged to get out of the way in reasonable time. Obviously, if you take an early pit stop and you come up against cars who obviously haven't done their pit stop yet but have come into some trouble, they're not obliged to get out of the way. Some do, which is very kind of them, but they don't have to.
Yeah.
And so that's where, you know, you really need to think with strategy, and on tracks like this where it is so difficult to pass, running longer is definitely a more optimum strategy.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to try that strategy one day, if ever the opportunity arises. So maybe if there's an update to the Porsche, or maybe in a different car, I'm not sure, but certainly I'll, for myself personally, and anyone that listens to the stream later on, it's certainly good advice. So put that one down in the toolkit for when you are running up towards the front end of a race.
Shamrock's still coming through traffic, but it hasn't seemed to have upsetted his rhythm too much. He seems nice and calm. His times are consistently in the 25s, 26s, so
yep.
He's just looking for consistency rather than ultimate pace.
And Fubble's coming up, so he seems to have settled back down. He's got Les in front of him, so there's a potential for getting a lap up on Les. So Les has gone around a few times, as we know, and I have no doubts that he'll probably have a bit of steam coming out from underneath his helmet. Got a little bit of a battle here between Hammer and TB Williams. This is the probably the closest pair on track at the moment.
So it looks like Hammer's done both his stops along with Les and Little Bear, so they'll be running to the end. 33 minutes to go.
I'll just jump to a helicopter view on Hammer, and we'll just have a look at his line. So he's coming through the corkscrew now, and it's important to get it straight through there so you can set up for Rainey's curve and hold it in nice and close. So But he's done that. And the approach into turn 10. He's carried a lot of speed through there. And then we'd be jumping on the anchors so that he can tip it in, and it's probably gone a little bit wide of the sausage curve, which is not ideal, but it does affect your straight line speed. So we've got TB there, as we said. TB's hasn't done any pit stops, and he's nearly come in behind him. So yeah, very close. Anyway. Those moments on track that you have, your heart just about ends up in your mouth. Sometimes you can't brake hard enough.
And obviously very conscious, like we were talking about before, with how punishing the damage can be in this game. You really don't want to be responsible for causing issues with your own car, let alone someone else's.
No, and right where we are now at the top of the corkscrew, I had an incident last week with Eagle, and he went a little bit wide on the approach to that turn 7, 8 and 8A, and I saw a little bit of an opening, which unfortunately once I got onto the green stuff I couldn't stop. So we both, I didn't go around, but he did, but I certainly redressed the position. But yeah, big apologies to Eagle from last week. I also sent him a message as well, so it's not the sort of thing that I like to be involved with, but there's definitely no intent there. It's just hard racing, and we did do a couple of laps that were quite close, so that's just the level that we race at.
That's right, it can happen, and that's part of it. And you just, when those incidents happen, you just take it and try and learn, what did I do wrong, or what could I have avoided if it was someone else that had come up as TB, goes for a slide out of turn 3. Sorry, turn 4 that was, as they're coming up to turn 5 now.
Yep.
But yeah, it's everyone's really great in this league. There's great respect between all the drivers. No one willingly punts anyone off, and when they do, there are clear processes in place to redress and those sorts of things. I think that's what makes it so great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I just pushed a button there on the controller. I've done it the last two broadcasts, and I saved this one, so that's good. I just had a moment of.
So we got Inter, who's just finished up his second pit stop.
Yep.
Let's see where he comes out. Looks like Hammer has come through. So I think something's happened with Big Les here. Oh, he's 2 laps down.
Okay.
Sorry, 20 seconds down.
Yep.
We just wait for the timing screens to update.
So we've just gone halfway through the race, guys, and so far Shamrock's in position number 1 and doing a very good job, mind you. So Shamrock's, for the last couple of rounds that I've been involved with from a broadcasting perspective, has always been up towards the pointy end and doing an absolutely fantastic job tonight. So and his teammate Fubble currently in second, and I think that he probably will come out, stay in that position after the pit stop, but it will be interesting to see how all that looks. And Andy cycling around in third, but he's still got to do his last pit stop as well, so it could actually come down to being closer racing, I reckon, Jamie. But as it just looking at the map there on the screen, looks like Les has gone around again. So if I was Les, I'd probably just park it up and get out of the car, and I think he has. He's just quit.
Which he has, yes.
Is that enough?
So unfortunately we have lost a few that have quit out tonight because of, coming out at the corkscrew or hitting the wall, or you're just generally being involved in some incidents, which is a shame. But this track is really, really punishing, and 1 hour around here is definitely a tough gig.
Absolutely is, mate. And and as I say, that Shamrock comes into the pits for his first pit stop, so I'm just on him here. So he'll be wanting to make sure that he doesn't hit anything. He doesn't want to speed. He doesn't want to drive through or stop and go. And we'll just see how long he actually stays in his pit box for.
So Fable's just coming through the corkscrew now, and then into Rainy Curve.
Yep. Yeah, so he's probably in there for about 3 or 4 seconds, I'd say.
Splash and
well,
dash.
It's going to be close. He's just coming onto the main straight now as Fubble. So he's going to have warm tyres. Shamrock's going to have to wait for his tyres to come up to pressure. So he's just coming around that little service road for the pit. There he is right there. So Fubble's not that far behind.
He's done well, Shamrock, there to build up enough of a gap to keep the lead after his stop.
Yep.
So now it'll be on to the next round of stops, 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, he just wants to start off the gravel though. Just getting back to Jamie to the word that used, punished. So that's a cracking word actually, and something that I wanted to ask you about was in the Pro League race last week with, as we all saw, with Slambo for Team BHR having a good win. He mentioned at the end of the race that he actually had his engine warning light come up on the dash, and actually felt some that it affected the vehicle in terms of top line speed. So I haven't actually come across that before, and he hasn't hit anything. So I don't know if have you done any research with that, or have you come across anything like that before?
I haven't, and I was interested to hear that, because for myself I'm notoriously aggressive on things like downshifts, under braking, and with the Ferrari I'd never experienced it. So Slambo seemed to think that it could have been the aggressive downshifting.
Yep.
But I don't think any of us had experienced it, and I haven't seen if it's kind of a widespread thing amongst the cars, if different cars experience it, or yeah.
Inches just going up on the inside of Hammer, so that's for position. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I know with an update with the gear changes, you couldn't actually slam the gears down. That was something that I had to familiarise myself with, of not trying to shift down too quickly, because it just wouldn't go.
So it may have been something else as well with Slambo and his engine, though. Yeah, it's difficult to know. He's obviously concentrating, trying to maintain the lead of a pro division race. So yeah, what exactly happened, we don't know, but be interesting to see what happens again, or if anyone else has experienced it. Yeah,
could have been the fuel mate. He is from New Zealand, so not sure what's going on over there. But big shout out to Slambo. He's our teammate and a damn good driver as well. So Shamrock's just come through on Hammer. Hammer's let him through. Inter's just let him go through as well. And he's actually caught back up into Hammer, right? So it's good that he hasn't lost too much with conceding his spot there. So again, just another example of these guys with driving behaviour. It's at a high level. It's a very good representation of the Rooz guys, and certainly something that's drilled into us from the start with regards to driver etiquette and the way that we represent ourselves on track as well as off track. So, and Shamrock has just hit that inside curve, and he's gonna spin around. Just tapped the wall. He's nosed it through frustration.
He was trying to avoid it turning around completely, but yeah, unfortunately it has, and he wasn't able to keep, the car rolling straight, and that's allowed Fubble to pass through into the lead.
Yeah, how frustrating.
But it can happen, and again, it's that turn 6 where you're avoiding the sand on the outside, because if you clip it and you keep your foot down, you're very likely to end up on the other side of the road into the barrier.
Yeah. And Vic's just put a comment saying, ouch, that would be, ripping that wheel around would just nearly be the equivalent to ripping a bicep off your bone, I reckon.
There's another interesting thing we picked up on in our race last week was the flat spots.
Yes.
On this circuit, and how easy they are to do, firstly, particularly coming into the corkscrew, and then how badly they can get as they compound lap on lap. And I remember in one of the practice races, my rig just shaking my shoulders and my arms, and to the point where I could still feel it after I'd got off the rig. I don't know, Slambo and yourself were experiencing that as well.
Yeah, I had not experienced it like that before. That clipping of a little bit has just gone through the corkscrew on the dirt, but yeah, that clipping with the flat spots, and it got worse. Especially when you're trying to come into like the corkscrew, for instance, and you're coming in hot, you want to brake in a straight line, then all of a sudden you've just got the wheel clicking off to the right, and you're thinking, man, what the hell's going on here?
Shamrock's just hit the wall again coming into the rainy curves, unfortunately, so he's starting to lose quite a bit of time on Fubble now. And in fact, where is Andy coming through the corkscrew now? So Andy might not be that far away from Shamrock now. Yeah,
so Shamrock's just pulled into the pits, and I'm going to stick with him because I'm thinking that he's probably got some damage there that he may or may not fix.
Well, he's had at least 2 collisions with the wall, so that he would have picked up. The car would be tough to drive at that stage, I would imagine. Yeah,
so Andy's just coming onto the main straight now. He's got TB Williams in front of him, so TB's with the BHR team. Hopefully he lets him go through.
Just noticed as well with the disconnects that we've had, we now have a Bentley versus Ferrari room.
Fantastic. So Andy up in the second position. So he did have that little bit of a spin there for a little bit. Just coming back down through the corkscrew there, we've got just on board with Inter. We've got a close battle here somewhere. So Hammer's in there. Team Little Bear's in the middle of these guys. I know with Little Bear, he's not a fan of the reverse grid stuff, I don't think. He likes to start from the back, watch all the action happen in front of him.
I think Hammer's just let him go through there as well, so I'm wondering if Hammer's picked up some damage, because he was ahead of Inter Rules there.
Yep.
But Inter has got that out, and Hammer's just, he's come off track again after turn 2. Looks to be struggling with that. Yeah, he's struggling to get that turn around, so he might be experiencing some damage. I'll just jump on board with him.
So we've got Andy's coming into second corner. He's got TB Williams in front of him. Ideally, at this point in time, you'd want to have a clear track. So, TB's he's in it for the race. Absolutely wants to, put on a good show, which is good. It looks like he's going to let Andy through, maybe. No. Oh, yep. Well done. So good sportsmanship there and good teamwork. Well done, TB. So this is where Andy's going to just put his head down now and. I reckon that looking at the map, he's thinking right now he's on for a second place finish if he can just keep it together. So some good points up for grabs here for Selby Acoustic Racing and BHR Racing. And if Shamrock can just keep it off the wall, he certainly might be able to snaffle a third, or it could even be a second. Just depends on how long Andy stays in the pits for.
So Shamrock is about 20 seconds behind Andy, so he might have done enough somewhere. A pit stop might cost about 35 seconds if I recall correctly, so we'll keep an eye on this anyway. We'll see what happens.
Sure. And if you're still on board with us, Vic, I haven't set it up yet, but certainly we're looking for donations to a website. Buy me a dinner. You'll be my go-to person for sure. For those guys that aren't, I'm sure that they are, but I think Vic's pretty well out in front with points for the championship. If that's correct, I think, and you're definitely second, Jamie, yeah?
Yeah, so I told Vic the other day, don't crash at Imola, and he should be good.
Yeah.
But you know, he's been the class of the field. You know, that early season form, particularly before his operation.
Yeah.
So you know, he'd be thoroughly deserving. But you know, I will, and our team will put on a good show for the stream next week, and I'll make it too easy for her.
Yeah, we'll make him work for it, for sure.
He does so much for the league, though, you know, with the setups and advice.
Yeah.
You know, I'm locked in battle with him at the top there, and, you know, he will still graciously share tips, you know, where we're talking about setups together and, you know, how we're tackling different circuits in our cars. Probably more him to me than me to him, but he's so open with that, and, you know, that just shows the spirit in which he comes into the league with, and, you know, very valued member.
Yeah. Absolutely, and even to the point where Vic's now got his own section in the Race on Oz Discord page with the car setup. So he's got Vic's workshop. He's got the setup chat and then setup questions. So I've actually had a look through some of the comments and questions that have been made. So I have no doubts that Vic will have a fair bit on his plate with all the questions, because there's a lot of stuff with the setups of these cars, even for myself, that I don't understand exactly what to do. And certainly rely on, you know, people like yourself and Vic and Slambo and, you know, the rest of the guys to give advice and some tips. So absolutely fantastic that Vic has that opportunity to share that information and also support the guys. And it's like a big community. We're all here to, you know, have a good time. And absolutely, if you've got the opportunity to go to that next level, why not?
Yeah, I think that's important for anyone who is watching this stream who might not be part of the league yet. You know, it's a great community. There's always someone to help you, and, you know, you'll really take a lot out of it and, you know, contribute to it as well.
Alrighty, so we've got just over 13 minutes to go. Fubbles up in front, has done both of his pit stops, just coming through the corkscrew there. At this point, he's probably doesn't have a whole lot of pressure, so that's a good thing. He can just maybe just settle down a little bit and just go for the ride. And Andy's just coming in through Rainey's curve on his approach into the last corner for the main straight. And then you've got Shamrock, who's just coming through the corkscrew. So I reckon between those two guys it's going to be pretty close. Inter's in position 4. in the Ferrari there for Games of Racing team. Looks like he did have damage on his car. I think he might have. Yeah, I reckon he's probably opted to fix that one in the pit. So, and probably not a bad decision either, given that he's in 4th place. Hammer in the Bentley, solid drive, coming up through the corkscrew, still, even after all this time, nice lines. Team Little Bear in the Ferrari, still getting a little bit squiggly in the rear end, but I reckon if you could see inside his helmet, he'd have a bloody gigantic grin on his face. So, and TB, it's on the main straight there. Looks like he's in front of Inter. Cracking job. Came in after the race started. And you know what? That's what I like about it too, Jamie, is the fact that he's come in late, but he's given it a red hot go and still collecting points. So even if he finishes 7th, there's some solid points for that position for his team.
That's right. Like we said, you know, there was a big opportunity here for some guys who might not have finished in the top 10 too often this season to bag some big points for their team.
Yep.
And that's going to happen here.
Yeah. So I guess what we're waiting on is for Andy to pull the trigger and come into the pits.
He's the last one to do so. Shamrock's just eating into that gap as well, so it's come down to about 17 seconds.
Yep.
So I think if Shamrock keeps it clean, he might have the pace to do it. But he obviously has made a couple of mistakes so far, and he'll be looking to keep concentration. Yeah. Because he'll need it to jump Andy.
Oh, and look, you know, he's thrown away first place, unfortunately. But as we both know, this track is just takes victims all the time. So to have the second spin and to still be where he is, and potentially going to be putting pressure on Andy for that second place position, that's a pretty good effort.
Fubble's keeping it nice and smooth up front as well. I've just spent a bit of time on board with him, and you can definitely see, you know, he's keeping it nice and consistent. He's not throwing the car in. He's easy on the throttle out of the turns, and you know, he's obviously focused on just keeping it on the road. He knows he's got a lead.
Yep.
And he can take this home, provided he, you know, doesn't end up facing the wrong way or in the barrier.
And, you know, there's this track in particular, how important is it for trail braking?
Very important, because a lot of 90-degree-ish turns, a lot of turns carrying a lot of speed in, so the longer you're on the brake hard and fully, obviously the slower you're going. So, you know, there's a lot of corners where you've got to quickly get on and then trail brake, lift off as you're coming into the corner, so you're carrying as much speed as possible and braking for the shortest amount of time possible, and really carrying the momentum through, particularly through that first and second sector.
Yeah, 100%. And Andy's just come out of the pit, so Andy's popped into 3rd position. You know, and that's a good solid drive from Andy to come into that position as well. So Shamrock's recovered well, and he's been kind enough to let his teammate go through from his own mistakes. Enters in position 4. Sorry, Jamie, what was that?
I was just going to say, it looks like we'll have a SAR 1-2 as well, provided that they keep it tidy, which don't see any reason why they won't be able to from here.
No, and whereabouts are they on the championship points table at the moment? I reckon that they're probably pretty close, aren't they?
So Shamrock, I think, leads the combined AM.
Yep.
Points tally.
What about SAR for the teams championship?
That I don't have handy.
Actually, I reckon Andrelli, he might have something. And Andrew is one of those guys that loves to play with Excel tables and whatnot. Does a ripping job at putting stuff together. Might just jump in here quickly and just have a quick look. So as of the 8th of this month, I think, by the looks of it. Yep. So we've got Bruce Hire Racing was on 1084, P&L 1033, Selby Acoustic Racing 1004. So they're not that far behind. And this will absolutely give them a boost up.
K-Man will be very happy.
He will be a very happy man. Just going to jump on board with Fubble again. I was on with him before. His steering wheel's doing weird things, so...
that might be because he's on controller.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so he's... one, I think Hammer is on controller as well, and
yep.
They both happen to be in the lobby or in this server right now, which is interesting. But yeah, Fubble has been on controller, and that's why the wheel looks funny like that.
Wow, that is amazing.
He does a great job. We were talking before about the realism in
yep.
this platform, and you really need to be patient and put the time in if you want to hit solid improvement goals, yep. And to come in on a controller and show this pace is pretty impressive.
I can't believe that. That's amazing. I know I did one season on controller with Project Cars 2 at the very start, and that was hellish. And then bought the G29, and then upgraded to the Fanatec, which is just, yeah, it's been amazing. But to do it on a controller, that is crazy.
The main thing is fun and enjoyment, and if he's enjoying it as it is, then absolutely full credit to him. If you don't need a rig, whether it be a Logitech or a Thrustmaster or a Fanatec, and you're happy on controller, good on you. That's great, I think.
Well, it's a lot cheaper too.
Yeah.
Now that's I'm gobsmacked by that. So well done to Fubble and Hammer for operating on controllers. I actually think I did hear that Hammer was on a controller, but he also has a steering wheel but prefers the controller. So yeah, that's interesting.
So it looks like Inter and Hammer is probably the closest of anyone on track, and that's at about 8 seconds, I think.
Yep.
Maybe a bit more now. Yeah, 8 seconds. So they're coming up to the back end of the race, and positions look pretty set unless people make any big errors.
Yeah, I'm just on board with Hammer in terms of inside the cockpit, and just the steering wheel control is very good. Yeah, I'm totally amazed by that, so thank you for that little tidbit there, Jamie. That's good.
It's alright, and Hammer is coming up to turn 6 now. I'm interested to see how he takes us on board actually with the controller. Yeah, not too bad.
Yep. So as a challenge, I couldn't interest you and Vic to do the last race at Imola with the controller.
90-minute race enduro on something new. That could be interesting.
It could be. Alrighty, we've got 3 minutes to go. Even though we had a small grid for tonight, and thank you to Jamie. So River Runs is joined myself for the commentary. It's been, to be honest, it's gone quite quickly. And I hope for you guys out there too, and post this through viewing, that you know, you can pick up on a little bit of some, you know, tips or advice that's come from probably more so Jamie than myself. So yeah, look, so far it's been good. It's been some good racing tonight. It certainly would be better if there was a bigger field, but you know what, at the end of the day, these guys are out there having fun and doing stuff that they love. So right now, Fubble's probably just trying to calm himself down. If I was in his shoes right now, I reckon I'd be looking in the mirror, knowing quite well that there was no one behind me, but I'd still be looking. And just waiting for these couple of laps to go by and take the win, by the looks of it.
Yeah, he'll be thinking about the little things, you know, he'll be looking at his fuel gauge going, have I put enough fuel in, you know, is there going to be that one extra lap? You'll start thinking about those little things of what could possibly go wrong, even though you're 30 seconds in the lead.
Yeah, it's funny how those gremlins creep in. What was your total fuel load for the race last week at Laguna Seca?
That's a good question. I think maybe about 105 litres. So
okay.
The Ferrari is a little bit more guzzly on fuel than some of the other cars in the game.
Yep.
But there are kind of ways around that, you know, so try and employ a little bit of fuel saving earlier on in the race might be able to get you a lap or two at the end, or maybe not a whole lap or two, but you know, get that cut off at the 60th minute mark.
Yep.
But quite often the pace is so quick that you know you can't do much fuel saving. No.
And you don't want to get caught out. I've been caught out twice now on ACC with running out of fuel. So yeah. So Fubbles on his on the last lap here. Selby Acoustic Racing. He's done an absolutely fantastic job of climbing his way up into first position. So kept it very solid. And we'll just watch him as he comes over the line. So track temperatures dropped down to 24. So with a controller to be able to manage that variances with weather and track temperatures, just amazing. So, and here he comes across the line. Well done, Fubble. Position number 1. Great driving. Second position, we've got Shamrock for Selby Acoustic Racing as well. So 1 and 2. So solid result for those guys, that team. I have no doubts he's probably kicking himself a little bit just for that little mistake. As he's getting ready to cross the line.
Congratulations to both of them, SAR and K-Man, Fubble and Shamrock.
Yeah,
it's a great performance.
Absolutely. And Andy, coming through Rainey Curve. Do you remember Wayne Rainey, the motorbike rider?
I do.
Yep.
Yeah. Was he born around this area,
I think he was, yeah. So Andy, Team BHR, third position, solid drive again. Certainly contributing to some points towards his end of season result, so good work there. And into the Ferrari, he's survived a few little contacts by the looks of it, and he's had some repairs. He's made the right decisions to fix that car up for GRT, so Burrow Dog will be very happy about that. And Hammer is coming through, flashing the lights. Well done, Hammer. And Little Bear's finished 6th in the pits, in 6th position, with TB in position 7. So that's a really good result by these guys. So Fubble's just doing his final lap, waving to the crowd. So it looks like there's a fair bit of social distancing going on. The crowd numbers are quite small, so that's good from that aspect.
Good on all of them tonight. it's like you say, a small grid, but it's still competitive. They were throwing everything out there, and lots of spins, but they kept going, and that's what it's all about. So
yeah, absolutely. So they'll start to think about the next round, which is the final round at Imola. It's also another one of my favourite tracks, and where the unfortunate death of Ayrton Senna occurred as well. So until then, so what I'd like to say, Jamie, thank you very much for accompanying me tonight with the broadcast. I hope that you've enjoyed yourself. Feedback from myself to you, you've done absolutely fantastic, and some of the things that you've spoken about has just been tremendous for some of us guys that are still learning this particular game. So thank you, and hopefully we can do this again.
Thank you kindly. Yeah, it was lots of fun, and glad to be on board and helping out, and hopefully people at home enjoyed.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. Thank you to all the guys there tonight that participated. So congratulations again. It was very well done, and good luck for the next round. I've just got one more comment coming through, so I'll just wait for that to pop up.
Good light. Show them what you got.
So Vic Jans, good job, fellas. You're a natural, Jamie. So there you go.
Thanks,
You've
Vic.
got a fan already. So, all right, guys, I'll say good night and goodbye, and thank you again, and thank you for supporting the channel. And from the views that we've had from the last round, I think, what was it, 100? Did you say, Jamie? Was it for the Monza?
Yep, nudged over 100.
Yep. So that's a really good result. So really appreciate that, and let's just continue to grow what we've got going. So until then, we'll see you next time. Thank you very much. One sec there, River.